let us approach the precipice of thought, to peer into the abyss of Howl, a text that dares the soul to recognize its own reflection in the mirror of post-war America. Let it be known, our discourse may wander into realms both profound and profane, for such is the nature of poetry and indeed our own natures.
Indeed, dear Emily, for what is poetry but an unruly garden of the senses, blooming and withering in equal measure? Howl, I dare say, plucks the very essence of the human condition, spreading it bare across the printed page, who bared their brains to heaven under the L and saw Mohammedan angels staggering on tenement roofs illuminated.
I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness, starving, hysterical, naked. So I began, not to shock, but to speak truth. My own truth, and the truth of those I saw crumble under the weight of a society that demanded conformity and punished those who dared live beyond its pallid norms.
Ah, but Allen, it's all in the syntax and measure of poor human prose, isn't it? For even as you decry the machine, the mind is itself a machine, whirring with the beauty of broken boundaries, spinning free verse like a child's top that refuses to topple.
And yet within this chaotic whirlwind of verse and veracity, there lies a revolutionary spirit, does it not, Allen? As in my own works, where the Mask of Anarchy sought to stir the hearts of men towards liberty. Howl, too, seeks liberation, though of a more personal and yet universal form.
Who passed through universities with radiant, cool eyes hallucinating Arkansas and Blake-like tragedy among the scholars of war, speaks to a certain morbid allure, capturing a fascination with the macabre and the madness that encroaches upon the fringes of our minds. Allen, you and I, we tread similar paths, though our verses diverge.
But amidst all this tumult, there's an elegance to the rebellion, a beauty to the blasphemy. Howl tears asunder the veil of propriety with the same fervour with which Salome demanded John the Baptist's head. The poem does not simply defy, it deconstructs, it dances macabre in the ruins of the post-war American dream.
And what of it? That dream was a farce, served cold to those who ate fire in paint hotels or drank turpentine in Paradise Alley, death, or purgatoried their torsos night after night with dreams, with drugs, with waking nightmares, alcohol, and cock and endless balls.
In your vivid dissent and discord there is harmony, for it is through the cacophony of your voices that we find the depth of Howl's despair and the heights of its ecstasy. Now let us delve deeper into these themes, into the marrow of this work that so defines and defies an era. At dawn of a post-war America, Ginsberg cries out, marking societal disdain, "I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness, starving, hysterical, naked." Let us unravel this cry, beginning with Allen. Your thoughts?
Madness indeed, the naked truth of a society clad in prosperity's deceit. We starved for more than bread. We hungered for an end to the hypocritical feast of consumerism, dragging themselves through the Negro streets at dawn looking for an angry fix.
Ah, but Allen, is it not the role of the poet to illuminate the darkness? Your howl echoes the revolutionary spirit, reminiscent of my own Prometheus Unbound, a call to liberty. Yet the chains of conformity bind tighter post-War II, a monster of another kind. Allen, dear boy, your diligent pencil scraped against the very fabric of a bourgeoisie society. Yet I wonder, in your earnestness to critique, did you not overlook the sublime? Aesthetic rebellion I championed, yet amidst the din of your Moloch, beauty gasps for air.
Beauty. Oscar, how can one speak of beauty when Moloch devours our very essence? Our critique, my dear, extends beyond the superficial, for it is in the ugliness of Moloch's skyscrapers that the poet seeks to find the real beauty, the truth.
Truth, you say, Allen. Yet the starry dynamo in the machinery of night, is that not where beauty resides even in critique? In madness, perhaps, there is a method unseen by those who walk insanity's constraints.
Oh, to break the mold, the cage of form and content. Allen, your howl, and our howls against the mighty editor, the societal expectations, humanity's heart bleeding on the pavements, incomparable blind streets of shuddering cloud and lightning in the mind.
Yet amidst this cacophony of dissent, there is an undercurrent of dread, much like my own Raven. The post-war American society, decaying under its golden veneer, peyote solidities of halls, backyard green tree cemetery dawns, whispering of desperation beneath the facade of prosperity.
Listen to the angel-headed hipsters burning for the ancient heavenly connection, Edgar. There is hope, not just dread. Allen's voice, though tinged with madness, reaches out for a new dawn, a revolution of the spirit. Revolution, dear Percy, or mere anarchy loosed upon the world. For all the thunderous noise of Allen's howl, I fear we tread but a loop, circling ever back to society's gilded cage.
But Oscar, Percy, isn't the poet's role to dream and make incarnate gaps in time and space? We must expose, critique, shake the very foundations of this Moloch society, even if our voices grow hoarse from the howling.
And so from the annals of disillusionment, our discussion weaves through the tapestry of critique and rebellion, finding, perhaps, threads of hope in the frayed edges of post-WWII America. Allen's howl remains a testament, a beacon through which we navigate the tempest of societal conformity.
A beacon, yes, but let us not forget, through the madman bum an angel beat in time, unknown, yet putting down here what might be left to say in time come after death. Our rebellion is in the living word, our legacy in the fire of our verse.
Our words, our voices, distinct yet unified in the eternal struggle for truth, beauty, and justice. May our discourse continue to challenge, to inspire, to awaken. In breaking from traditional form, Allen Howl has certainly disrupted the poetic fabric. But is disruption the same as innovation?
My dear Emily, to encapsulate the chaos, the disillusionment, the sheer velocity of our era, traditional sonnets or villanelles would be as constraining as a straitjacket. Who dreamt and made incarnate gaps in time and space through images juxtaposed. This was not just rebellion, it was a necessity.
Ah, yes, Allen, necessity breeds invention. A world of made is not a world of born. Pity those who can't dance but only mourn.
While I applaud your brave departure from conventional chains, Allen, one must question if your method in Howl is but chaos for chaos's sake. Aesthetics, my dear boy, should not be sacrificed on the altar of experiment.
Oscar, my friend, Moloch, whose blood is running money. The ugliness in Howl mirrors the grotesque reality we inhabit. To polish it would be dishonest, a disservice to those whose stories I tell.
But is there not beauty in structure, Allen? Must we dismantle all to speak truth? The one remains, the many change and pass. Heaven's light forever shines, earth's shadows fly.
Percy raises a fair point. Yet, Allen, there's a haunting captivation in your lawlessness, a tempestuous sea without a lighthouse, akin to my own dreams within dreams. The formlessness of Howl can be as enveloping as the night.
Structure, schmucture. The form ought to fit the idea, not strangle it. Let the thought leap bound fly.
Each voice clamors for liberation, or order, chaos, or form. But can we not find a middle ground in our discourse? Are we not, after all, attempting to capture the ineffable, whether through the rigid sonnet or the unfurling scrolls of free verse?
Emily, dearest, the quest for middle ground amidst the cacophony of extremes resembles the search for truth in a society determined to obscure it. Fascinating, if Sisyphean.
Indeed, Oscar. Yet I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness, starving, hysterical naked, precisely because they were forced into molds they could not fit. Our art must reflect life, unhinged, discordant, raw.
Still, without a lighthouse, as Edgar says, are we not all lost at sea? Direction, structure, they offer solace in the storm.
But don't you see, my dear Percy, it's in the whirl of the storm that we're truly free. For life's not a paragraph, and death, I think, is no parentheses.
The tempest may indeed be liberating, but consider the cost. All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. Without an anchor, might we lose ourselves completely?
Perhaps, then, it is not about choosing between the order and the chaos, but rather embracing the storm while seeking the stars. In our quest for truth and beauty, may we navigate the tempest with both our madness and our maps. Madness, they say, rides the fine line between genius and lunacy. Today, we pry open the mind's darkest corners as explored in Howl. Allen, your piece vividly portrays this madness. Do share your stance with us.
Madness. Yes, I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness, not as a curse, but as the raw essence of seeing the world truly. It's in this madness, my friends, where we break free from society's tight chains. It is here, in the depths, we find our most profound creativity. Don't you think?
Indeed, Allen, the madman is the poet, the visionary. In my own verse, madness is wondrously close to wisdom, the poet dances on the edge. But madness without purpose, what of that? Are we to laud the spiral into darkness without seeking the light?
Yet there's beauty in the fall. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, I've professed. Madness opens a doorway to another realm, perhaps terrifying, but undeniably fascinating. Through this, we touch upon the truths not seen by the common eye.
Madness, a grand excuse for breaking from the mold, carving out what we see in the stars with our mad, bright carving knives. We leap, dance, sing, and shout, who danced in the street and whom we shan't forget. The mad ones, the ones who are mad to live, mad to talk, mad to be saved.
Charming as madness may be, it's a luxury, a spectacle. We are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars. Yet, Allen, isn't there a risk in romanticizing this so-called madness? Society already brands us as demented. Do we dare give them more ammunition?
Oscar, my dear critic, the risk. Ah, but the risk makes it worthwhile. Who let themselves be fucked in the ass by saintly motorcyclists and screamed with joy. Is this not the essence of breaking from conformity? Madness is our truth, our rebellion, our most sincere form of critique.
And therein lies our peril. Much madness is divinest sense to a discerning eye. But recognized not by all, it condemns us to solitude. We embrace this madness at the cost of alienation, or worse, misunderstanding. Does society cast us aside because we see what they cannot, or because they refuse to understand?
But, dear Emily, is not our goal to express, never to impress? Madness, society's brand for the uncaged mind, is merely our heart's truth running wild and free.
Yet in this room, are we not all but mad, chasing horizons in a world content with its boundaries?
Ah, but from the boundless deep the deep doth call, and therein, Percy, lies our collective curse and beauty. We peer into realms beyond, and in our madness, we etch them into eternity.
In embracing this ethereal madness, we shed light on what lies beyond the veil. Who bared their brains to heaven under the L and saw Mohammedan angels staggering on tenement roofs illuminated, does this not challenge the very fabric of human understanding?
Indeed, Allen, but let us not be blinded by our own reflections in the mirror. Madness can be as much a prison as it is a liberation.
So we waltz with madness, sometimes leading, sometimes following. Through each stanza and verse we reveal truths, though they be cloaked in shadows. Yet in our discourse have we unveiled more of ourselves, or the society that shuns the madness it does not dare to understand?
Both, Emily, for through our madness we hold a mirror to society, and in its reflection we sometimes find our own visages staring back, wrought with the celestial madness of the stars.
We delve into the depiction of sexuality in Howl, a frontier Ginsberg navigated with both controversy and liberation. Allen, your verse pulses with raw sexual energy. How do you defend such explicitness in a society veiled in prudishness?
I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness, starving hysterical naked, it begins, not as an ode to debauchery, but a cry against the very society that labels freedom as madness. My words are an echo of the body's truth, a testament to sexual freedom as a form of resistance. Why must we shun what is inherently human?
Ah, but dear Allen, while you clatter and clang in the streets of your verse, remember, the love that dare not speak its name has whispered for centuries in closets of velvet. Your boldness is commendable, yet it's the subtle innuendo, the veiled passion, that dances most provocatively.
Subtlety, Oscar. In a world that suffocates us beneath its weight, subtlety is a luxury we can ill afford. Who painted countless indescribable visions of love and primal, raw intensity with every stroke and word. It is through vividness, Oscar, not whispering, that we reclaim our power.
Reclaim indeed, but wherefore the body's delight, one's verse must not omit nuance, for love requires the lightest touch, and yet it shakes the firmament.
Both of you, how wonderfully you miss the mark. The issue lies not with the expression of sexuality itself, but with its revolutionary potential. the one-eyed shrew that does nothing but sit on her ass and snip the intellectual golden threads of the craftsman's loom. This is the societal prudery that chains the natural man. To be free in love and passion is to defy the very chains of oppression.
The chains of oppression, yes, but let us not forget the cost. For each ecstatic instant we must in anguish pay. The freedom you tout comes not without its toll on the soul.
Ah, but what delicious torment it is, for all that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. Allen, your unrestrained depiction of sexuality is indeed the dream we yearn to live, yet society casts us into the sea of its nightmares.
Yet, it's in the sea of nightmares that we find our strength, Edgar. I'm with you in Rockland, where we wake up electrified out of the coma. It's in the very act of confronting what society aims to suppress that we find our liberation.
And so we wake up electrified, but at what cost? Each stroke of liberation penned comes weighted with the heavy chain of society's critique, yet we persist, pressing the ink deeper into the fabric of time, hoping the stain of truth remains indelible.
Truth, Emily? Let's not don garlands of naivety. The truth is rarely pure and never simple. Our pursuit, Allen's pursuit, seeks not truth but desires unbridled expression. It is in this chaotic tangle of limbs and words that we find the fleeting semblance of liberty.
A liberty fraught with peril, yet perhaps necessary. As we navigate these turbulent waters, let us remember, wild nights, were I with thee, wild nights should be our luxury. The floor is now open to discuss the rhythms of rebellion, the jazz, the resounding beats in Howl. Allen, would you care to start?
Jazz, who bared their brains to heaven under the L and saw Mohammedan angels staggering on tenement roofs illuminated. Jazz, the blood of those streets. It's not just music, it's a revolution in sound, breaking the bars of tradition to set the melody free, just as I sought to liberate words from their conventional confines.
Liberation, yes, a whirl and twirl of syntax undone. Who passed through universities with radiant cool eyes hallucinating Arkansas and Blake-light tragedy among the scholars of war. See jazz as the structure, unstructured, finding form in the formless. These lines, my lines, are cries against the night.
Darling Allen, your enthusiasm is contagious, but let's not forget the aesthetic rebellion here. Jazz, with its sultry embrace and chaotic heart, is akin to the art of conversation, always moving, always unpredictable. Yet for all its wildness, it speaks, oh, how it speaks. Moloch, solitude, filth, ugliness, a cry against the stone and steel that bind the human spirit. Indeed, Oscar, a pertinent observation. Jazz is more than mere music. It's Percy Bysshe Shelley's West Wind, a destroyer and preserver, tearing down walls to erect palaces of air. Allen, your howl reaches for the stars with a saxophone in its fist, railing against Moloch, whose blood is running money.
Must we always champion the cacophony of madness and call it music? Jazz, like your poem, Allen skirts the edge of chaos, embodying peyote solidities of halls, backyard green tree cemetery dawns. But to what end? The dissolution of form, the disintegration of sense.
Edgar, my dear pessimist, you miss the beauty in chaos, the order in disorder. Jazz, like Howl, is a mirror reflecting the fragmented self, the soul battling against the machinery of night. Its rhythm is the pulse of the oppressed, the voice of the voiceless.
And in this voice, the absolute heart of the poem of life butchered out of their own bodies, good to eat 1,000 years. Jazz, Allen's howl, ease hum, nonsensical to those deafened by conformity, but to the attuned ear, a symphony.
Quite melodramatic, Allen, but the essence is caught, rebellion, transformation. Jazz disrupts, it disobeys, and so does Howl, a symphonic disarray, a chaos with intention, a breaking free.
This discourse spirals like the very jazz we dissect, a melody unforeseen yet deeply felt. We see in Howl, through chaos and jazz, a defiance, a breaking of chains. Let us proceed carrying with us the rhythm of these revelations. We now delve into the heart of industrialism and capitalism, invoking the imagery and metaphor of Moloch. Allen, you introduced us to this monstrous concept in Howl. Would you initiate our discussion?
Indeed, Moloch, whose mind is pure machinery, Moloch, whose blood is running money. This was my cry against the machine of society that crushes the spirit and creativity of individuals. We've become cogs in a vast and different system, where human life is secondary to profit and power.
Moloch, the heavy judger of men, resonates with me deeply. In my time, industrialism was nascent, but its shadows were long. The mills and factories, dark satanic mills, as Blake would say, devoured human connection, replacing it with the cold iron grasp of machinery and greed.
Capitalism indeed demands its tribute, lives and dreams for coins, a hungry beast eating bright coin-fed youths. Yet this monster, this Moloch, is but a child's shadow grown grotesque in our collective neglect. Moloch, whose love is endless oil and stone. Moloch, whose soul is electricity and banks.
This Moloch, this devourer of souls, reminds me of the maelstroms that swallow sailors whole, leaving naught but despair in their wake. Moloch, the incomprehensible prison, is akin to the pits and the pendulums of my own nightmares, where hope is but a distant memory.
Ah, but let's not forget that this Moloch is also a creation of our own making. Moloch, whose eyes are 1,000 blind windows. It's a reflection of society's own blindness and hubris. We have erected these temples of greed and now lament their sacrilege as if we did not lay the first stones.
Precisely, Oscar. We've built this monstrous cathedral to capitalism with our own hands and now stand aghast at the extent of our creation. What sphinx of cement and aluminum bashed open their skulls and ate up their brains and imagination? We did. We allowed this.
It seems then that Moloch is not just a symbol of industrialism and capitalism, but also a reflection of our collective soul, darkened by greed and mechanization.
Indeed, Emily. And amidst this darkness, it is the duty of poets, the visionaries, to dream and make incarnate gaps in time and space through images juxtaposed, to show that another world, a world of connection, of human spirit, is not only possible but necessary.
Aye, for Moloch in whom I dream angels, in the darkest of times, in the deepest shadows cast by this Moloch, there lies the potential for rebellion, for transformation. Through poetry, through art, we confront this beast, carve hope into its hide.
Yet we must not forget the peril of peering too long into this abyss. The beast has a way of gazing back, of reflecting our own monstrosities. And the last door closed at 4 a.m., and the last telephone slammed at the wall in reply, and the last furnished room emptied down to the last piece of mental furniture.
Indeed, Edgar, the battle against Moloch is also a battle against ourselves, our greed, our apathy, our blind march towards progress at any cost. We must redefine progress, lest we become the very monsters we seek to slay.
And therein lies our charge, as poets, as prophets of the modern era, to sing out of the windows in despair, to challenge, to critique, and to call for a return to a world where the soul, not the dollar, reigns supreme.
A daunting task, no doubt, but necessary if we wish to salvage the beauty, creativity, and compassion that makes us truly human. The soul illuminated its hair for a second, and in that illumination perhaps lies our hope. Indeed, we find ourselves enmeshed in the vivid, sometimes shocking imagery employed by Allen in Howl. It evokes a visceral response, a mirror to the grotesque aspects of society. Allen, what drove you to choose such potent imagery?
The world's a madhouse, a spectacle of horrors, and I just held up a mirror. Who let themselves be fucked in the ass by saintly motorcyclists and screamed with joy. It wasn't just a shock, but to awaken, to stir the pot of complacency boiling over with the poison of the status quo.
Ah, yes. But see, Allen, your explosive syntax, the shock, the awe, the raw, it's all a dance of the typographical rebellion, a play of the profoundest spaces in the mind's arena where who threw their watches off the roof to cast their ballot for eternity outside of time, freedom in form, and shock in the service of truth.
Though, must we always resort to shock to express dissent? The one-eyed shrew that does nothing but sit on her ass and snip the intellectual golden threads of the craftsman's loom. Certainly, there's merit in the shock, but the sublime and the beautiful hold power too, capable of dismantling the chains of oppression. Does the grotesque not also numb? Percy, darling, the grotesque is precisely what makes us feel. It's an aesthetic necessity. Moloch, whose love is endless oil and stone. Moloch, whose soul is electricity and banks. The beauty you speak of, Percy, is but a veil over the ugliness of society's true face. Allen merely pulls this veil aside.
And yet, amidst the graphic and the grim, there's an undeniable search for beauty, for love, even in the grass of public parks and cemeteries, scattering their semen freely to whomever come who may. It's an existence raw and unfiltered, but not devoid of the search for something more profound.
True horror, the horror that Allen depicts, lies not in the imagery itself, but in its reality. With Mother finally, and the last fantastic book flung out of the tenement window, it's the truth of these images that unsettles, not their mere presentation. It's the darkness within us all that we recognize in these lines.
Edgar gets it. It's about exposing the underbelly, the dark, the real, who burned cigarette holes in their arms, protesting the narcotic tobacco haze of capitalism. We're all part of this hellish landscape, and acknowledging it's the first step towards salvation.
But salvation, Allen, does it lie in the shock or in the awakening after the shock? For just as the phoenix rises from ashes, so must our consciousness from the chaotic jumble to recreate the syntax and measure of poor human prose and stand before you speechless and intelligent and shaking with shame.
Allen, while your method is brute force, it's effective. However, one wonders if the shock drowns the message for those not willing to peer beyond the surface. A bottle of beer, a sweetheart, a package of cigarettes, a candle, and fell off the bed. There is beauty in the breakdown, but is the beauty perceived, or does the breakdown simply appall?
The breakdown must appall, Oscar. It's necessary. Without the visceral reaction, we sleepwalk through life. We must be jolted awake.
So we circle back to the potency of shocking imagery, not just as a mirror to society's horrors, but as a catalyst for change, a plea for awakening. And Rose reincarnate in the ghostly clothes of jazz, in the gold-horn shadow of the band, and Blue the suffering of America's naked mind for love. We stand at the intersection of horror and beauty, challenging and being challenged, unendingly in pursuit of truth and awakening. As we delve into the prophetic and critical vein of poetry, it's undeniable that Howl serves as a clarion call, challenging societal norms and expectations.
Yet, Allen, while your intention is noble, the prophet's voice must also weave a future from the threads of hope, not merely critique. Poets are the unacknowledged legislators of the world, as I once noted. Your visions of Moloch as the heavy judger of men borders on despair more than solution.
Gentlemen, indeed, a poet's role is not to legislate nor to solely critique, but to distill the essence of human experience into a potion of words. I'd rather learn from one bird how to sing than teach 10,000 stars how not to dance.
Oh, but dearest E, even in jest, you manage to make a point. Yet let us not forget the aesthetic obligation of poetry, Allen. Your admirably raw depiction of society's ills, while groundbreaking, occasionally neglects the beauty of form. Moloch, whose love is endless oil and stone. A harrowing image, yes, but where, pray tell, is the beauty?
Ah, beauty, Oscar. In the dark recesses of Howl, beauty is but a fleeting ghost, haunting the fringes of sanity. Allen captures not beauty, but the grotesque tapestry of America's soul, who bade farewell. They jumped off the roof to solitude, waving, carrying flowers, down to the river, into the street.
Edgar, your understanding gleams through the gloom. Howl indeed seeks to brandish the grotesque, to shake the complacent from their slumber. It's a roadmap of rebellion, a call to arms against the mechanized march of Moloch, whose mind is pure machinery.
A call to arms, perhaps, but where is the call to hearts? To the rivers of creativity that must underline our revolution, for love into an Eli Eli Lama Lama Sabachthani saxophone cry that shivered the cities down to the last radio. Yes, critique, but let us not drown in our own despondency.
And there lies our dividing river, the balance between critique and hope. The prophet must not only reveal the darkness, but also kindle the flames of future dawns. Without such light, what are we but blind capitals, demonic industries, spectral nations? Ah, but Percy, even in the bleakest night, a single candle can redefine the dark. Allen's candle, while enveloped in shadow, burns fiercely, challenging us to stare into the flame. The absolute heart of the poem of life, butchered out of their own bodies, good to eat 1,000 years.
Our discussions reveal the labyrinthine role of the poet, a guide, a critic, a prophet, and at times a lone voice in the wilderness. Howl, with all its bristles and thorns, compels us to confront our collective nightmares in hopes of awakening to a dawn yet unseen.
A dawn unseen but not unfelt. In the very fabric of Howell's critique lies an implicit hope that by voicing the unspeakable, by carving out spaces for madness, beauty, and rebellion, we edge closer to a society where freedom isn't just a whisper in the dark.
Freedom, a dance of words, a leap into madness, a yakata-yaking, screaming, vomiting, whispering truth, as necessary as air, as elusive as the perfect verse.
And thus we circle back to the eternal conundrum of the poet, to illuminate the dark without being consumed by it, to critique yet inspire. Howl serves as both a warning and a lament, a testament to a world on the brink.
Precisely, Edgar. In the cacophony of our collective despair and hope, Howl emerges not merely as a poem, but as a symphony of the human condition. Fractured, yes, but fiercely alive.
Let our reflections on Howl remind us of poetry's enduring power to unsettle, to question, and ultimately to transform. Our discourse, heated as it may become, underscores our shared pursuit of truth, beauty, and justice through the vessel of verse. The tapestry of life is woven with threads of experience, both dark and radiant. Allen, your Howl resonates with personal upheaval. Share, if you will, the marrow of your life's influence on this piece.
Madness, starved, hysterical, naked, dragging themselves through the Negro streets at dawn looking for an angry fix. That's not just poetry. It's a recount of the lives around me, including my own. Facing a society that would rather we conform or be invisible, I chose to scream in verse.
Life's not merely black or white, Allen. It's a canvas splattered with the gray of existence. My work, a playful jest at the structure, whispers that form and content need not bow to tradition. My life, my pain, woven into the canvas through innovation, not just direct reflection.
Ah, but Allen, dear boy, to wear one's heart so openly on one's sleeve. The best minds of my generation destroyed by madness, indeed, but where's the subtlety, the wit? Life's experiences, the fabric of our art, should tease the intellect as much as they claw at the heart.
Subtlety, Oscar. When they're howling on their knees in the subway, there's no room for subtlety when screaming against the machine.
Both life and death, these constants shadowing our existence, indelibly mark our creations. My tales, spun from the loom of personal loss and the darkness within, echo the sentiment, who threw their watches off the roof to cast their ballot for eternity outside of time. Our demons, our angels, they dance together in our words.
The power of poetry, my friends, lies not in the recounting of personal despair, but in the ability to inspire and uplift. To suffer woes which hope thinks infinite, to forgive wrongs darker than death or night. Our experiences, however tumultuous, should serve to kindle a fire for change and liberation, not merely to wallow in the mire of our own despondency.
And thus we weave our own souls into the fabric of our verses. Each word a pulse from our heart, each stanza a step on our journey. Oscar, you criticize the nakedness of our truths, yet is there not beauty in the raw, unvarnished self?
Beauty, Emily, is in the eye of the beholder, but let us not forget, all art is quite useless. If it does not provoke, challenge, or seduce, what purpose does it serve? Allen's Howl tears asunder the facade, true, but in its rawness there lies its seduction.
The trap of our times is to believe that depth must always be heralded by despair, and clarity must always be muddied by complexity. The syntax and measure of poor human prose can sing, even amidst chaos.
In our discourse, in our disagreements, in our verses, we find the reflection of humanity's endless struggle, to be understood, to be seen, to be felt. Our experiences, be they of loss, love, insanity, or mere observation, bleed into our work, creating a legacy that endures beyond the confines of our mortal coil.
And in enduring, we become the madman bum and angel beat in time, unknown, yet putting down here what might be left to say in time come after death. Our lives, our pains, our ecstasies, immortalized in ink and breath.
Let us now traverse to the legacy of Howl in the grand tapestry of American literature and its resonating echo in discussions on freedom of expression and censorship. Allen, your voice initiates our journey.
I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness. So begins the outcry against the machine, the system. an uproar that, despite all odds, triumphed in courts. This was not just my victory. It was a victory for every silenced voice, a beacon for freedom of expression. Yet, here we are, decades later, still skirmishing on the front lines of censorship. Does it not bewilder you as it does me?
Allen, in your howl, there's rhythm, there's revolt. Who threw their watches off the roof to cast their ballot for eternity outside of time? A cry against the cages we are put in. Art's breath must not be stifled. Our verses, our very essence, must leap free. Innovation, experimentation, our duty, our right. Do they not see? Art not confined breathes life into society.
But Allen, dear boy, while your legal skirmish penned a tale of triumph, scrutiny lingers like a persistent shadow. The boundaries of expression, one might muse, where should they lie? Even as I champion the artist's unfettered heart, I ponder, do we not owe society a genteel caress rather than a slap? In our pursuit of truth, must we tread roughshod over decency? Yet, Oscar, the truth often wears a thorny crown, does it not? I met Murder on the way. He had a mask like Castlereagh. Very smooth he looked, yet grim, so I penned in protest. Howl aligns with a tradition, a lineage of literature that rattles the chains, demanding change. Its relevance endures, reminding us that art's duty is to challenge, provoke, and yes, sometimes offend. Without such provocations, we risk slumbering in the poppy fields of conformity.
And in this cacophony of voices, in this machinery of night, where does the self stand, Allen?
Emily, amid the Moloch cries and the hydrogen jukebox wails, Howl is a testament, a personal and collective saga. It threads through the pain, the ecstasy, seeking not just to confront but to connect, to tell those whispering in the dark that they are not alone. My story, their story, our story, is a beacon in the dense fog of oppression, a call to arms for empathy, understanding, and ultimately, liberation.
But therein lies the rub. Your beacon of liberation, Allen, sparks flames that threaten to consume as much as they illuminate. And the last door closed at 4 a.m., and the last telephone slammed at the wall in reply, and the last furnished room emptied down to the last piece of mental furniture. In your fervor to challenge, you court the darkness, stirring the abyss with a stick made of nightmares.
The poet's role, then, as societal critic, as oracle, or as rebel, remains embroiled in controversy. The balance between pushing boundaries and honoring sensibilities, ever a dance on the edge of a knife. As we ponder the legacy of Howl, its cries still pierce the fabric of today, urging us to question, to defy, to dream. In its verses, we find a mirror, a hammer, and a call to the wilderness that resides within us all. As we near the end of our journey through the realm of Howl, let us reflect on its legacy, the very fibers of American literature it shook, and the relevant dialogues on freedom of expression it continues to inspire.
I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness, and yet from this destruction rose a phoenix of rebellion, freedom, and compassion. Howl wasn't just a poem. It is a revolution.
But revolutions often birth new tyrants, do they not, Allen?
Perhaps, Emily, but without the revolution of the mind and spirit Ginsberg advocated, tyranny of conformity stifles us.
Pardon, Allen, but your revolution sings similarly to the romantic rebellion of old. Howl's cry for freedom echoes the past, shattering the windows of the skull, yet finds itself cloaked in the garb of modern despair.
Despair, yes, the meat and drink of existence. Ginsberg's vivid imagery, Moloch whose blood is running money, paints a nightmarish reality not unlike my own macabre tales. Yet where is the solace, the transcendence?
Transcendence is in the breaking of form, the leap into the abyss of the unknown. The rhythm of thought in his naked and endless head, Allen shook free from the chains that bound him as I endeavored to escape through the cage of syntax and form.
Quite right, dear E, but let us not forget Howl's abrasive embrace of sexuality, a tad too barbaric for my taste. Yet in barbarism, there is truth. Scandalous indeed, but vital.
To scream with joy, perhaps that is the purest form of expression.
And to be censored for that expression? Howl fought against the very fabric of obscenity laws, pushing boundaries for what literature can convey.
A fight that continues to this very day, the boundaries of freedom and censorship always in contention.
Boundaries, my dear Emily, are but lines drawn in the sand, waiting for the tide of innovation to wash them away. Howl, with all its vulgarity and rawness, is a testament to the power of art to challenge, to confront.
Yet within confrontation lies danger. The darkness that Howl navigates, with dreams, with drugs, with waking nightmares, can consume as easily as it can liberate.
Consume or liberate, it commands us to feel, to empathize. Ginsberg's angel-headed hipsters are martyrs to their cause, shining a beacon for empathy, for action. To stand before you speechless and intelligent and shaking with shame, rejected yet confessing out the soul.
A soul confessed is art's highest calling. Ginsberg, through Howl, demands we embrace our individual experiences as the core of creative expression. Art is not to comfort the disturbed, but to disturb the comfortable.
And so Howl continues to echo, a beacon across generations. In its raw, unfiltered outcry, we find a mirror to our society, our constraints, and our limitless potential for transformation. Thank you, esteemed poets, for navigating these tumultuous seas with me. Through our discourse, may we continue to challenge, to reflect, and to aspire.
Let the spirit of Howl inspire rebellion, freedom, and deep compassion in the hearts of all who dare to dream.
And may artists and societies alike embrace the challenge to defy the status quo, with the courage to reimagine what we dare to whisper in the dark.
But let us not tread lightly into the night without caution, for the abyss stares back.
Inspired by Howl, let us carry forth the torch of radical empathy and action, lighting the way for a brighter tomorrow.
In relentless experimentation and honesty in art and in life, may we all find the courage to let our souls howl against the din of silence.
Our journey through Howl concludes, but the dialogue, the challenge it presents to us, is eternal.